Hello, National Shoulder Pad Company. This is Last Angry Geek. Thank you. Yes, I'm reviewing X-Force, so naturally I assume I'm going to need a pair of gigantic shoulder pads for this review. Now, what's the largest pair of shoulder pads you offer? No, I'll need bigger than that. No, I'll need bigger than that. What? No, that's too big. Well, listen, just make me a pair of shoulder pads you think is suitably absurd, and I'll call you back a little later. Alright, thank you. Nice people. Nice people. Yeah. So actually I read the comic and it's called Uncanny X-Force and no one in it is wearing shoulder pads, so I'm afraid I'm not going to need... What do you mean non-refundable? Well, how much is this going to cost me? No, I'm good for it, send the bill to 234 Lincoln Avenue. Yes, okay. Alright, thank you, bye. Oh dear.
Shoulder Pad Company. Bargo, we gotta do another telethon. No charity. This one's for me. Enjoy the show. It'll be the last if I have anything to say about it.
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. 'Cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, the Last Angry Geek. Now what... It's the Nostalgia Critic. I'm not here! Now when you think of X-Force, undoubtedly Rob Liefeld in the 1990s are the first thing to come to mind. Rob took the New Mutants and relaunched them as a paramilitary strike force under the command of the mysterious Cable. But the series ran its course and was eventually cancelled. In more recent years, the book relaunched with a more sinister purpose. Convinced the dwindling mutant population couldn't take much more, Cyclops commissioned Wolverine to seek out the X-Men's enemies and kill them before they could kill the mutant race. Okay, while I like this new X-Force comic, conceptually I had big problems with it. The idea that Cyclops was ordering X-Men to go out and kill people, that's not the X-Men way, that's the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants way. And when he's finally found out, all he gets is a stern lecture from Professor X and Storm. There's no punishment for his actions, and I felt there should have been. But I guess I shouldn't expect too much logic from modern-day Marvel Comics. Still, in light of the heroic age, Cyclops decided that X-Force was no longer needed and disbanded the team, only for Wolverine and teammate Archangel to re-establish it behind Cyclops' back. Adding the ninja telepath Psylocke and dual-masked lunatics Deadpool and Phantom X, the new team picks up where the old left off, seeking out threats to the mutant race in a somewhat kinder, gentler world. So we're going to take a look at the first 4 issues of the latest incarnation of this book, Uncanny X-Force, written by Rick Remainder and drawn by Jerome Opina. The story begins with a now black and blue Deadpool about to jump off an enormous puking statue. Because when you take a job that's going to spill a lot of blood on your outfit, the last thing you want to do is wear red. It must be a truly tall statue because Deadpool has time to get out a monologue before landing on his feet without shattering his bones and heading into a dwarven city built around a giant TV remote control. He witnesses a human sacrifice that seems to energize a sarcophagus. A figure emerges surrounded by smoke, only for Deadpool to be attacked by a Minotaur-esque creature that he passed earlier, thinking it was a statue. We then cut to Psylocke, aka Betsy Braddock, walking into a room to find Angel impaled by his alter ego Archangel, who then attacks her. She awakens in the bed she shares with Warren Worthington, the aforementioned Angel and Archangel. We find out that Archangel is now his own separate personality, and that Psylocke must frequently use her telepathy to keep his influence from overwhelming Warren and transforming him into a merciless killing machine. From there we cut to Phantom X, a genetically engineered mutant from a lab that used time control to speed up evolution. Phantom X developed an autonomous nervous system in the form of his spaceship, Eva. Using his power to misdirect minds, he breaks into the Tower of London, only to find that Wolverine has beaten him to the crown jewels, winning a bet between the two of them. Called away, Phantom X and Logan pick up Warren and Betty and head after Deadpool, the fifth member of the newest X-Force. They break into the strange fortress, and Wolverine goes right after the Bullman. The statue cleaves him with his axe, and Wolverine turns on his allies, possessed by rage. Betsy tries stabbing with her psychic knife to incapacitate him, but is likewise overwhelmed. Phantom X saves the day by making the monster believe that Psylocke is his true love. These good emotions cause him to detonate, freeing X-Force from his thrall. They rescue Deadpool from a vivisection, just as Eva informs them that the giant ship at the heart of the city is teleporting away. Afterwards, Archangel confirms their suspicions. The monster was the latest incarnation of War, a servant of the immortal mutant Apocalypse. An ancient cult is planning on resurrecting the murderous despot. As X-Force realizes they have to stop him before he rises to power, we cut away to see an old woman coming to her student. A student with gray skin and blue lips who can be no one else but Apocalypse Reborn. Issue 2 opens with the team infiltrating one of Apocalypse's bases, finding enslaved and murdered humans before confronting the Overlord himself. Archangel turns on his teammates, killing all except Psylocke, who skewers him with a katana, just as Warren walks into this apparent danger room session and questions why his girlfriend is training to kill him. We cut to Apocalypse Jr. as his training is overseen by his longtime servant Ozymandias. Apocalypse has it drilled into him that he is the savior of the mutant race and must bring around a new age of mutant superiority. Wolverine and Angel explore Cavern X, the new base of operations for X-Force, and Phantom X tracks the teleported ship to the blue area of the moon, the mythical crater of Marvel continuity that actually has an atmosphere. As they touch down, Eva is attacked by War and infected with his urge to kill. As Phantom X struggles to maintain control, the ship crashes and a strange drummer takes down Archangel. A mysterious geisha attacks Deadpool by vomiting up bugs on him. And finally, a man on a magic carpet causes the rest of the team to keel over in agony. And just like that, X-Force is defeated by the final Horseman. So that's Uncanny X-Force. Strange how they killed off such popular characters as Wolverine and Deadpool in the first two issues, but... What? Oh, I'm sorry, I guess the story wasn't done yet. We see the origins of the final Horseman, how they were all betrayed by humanity and then collected by Apocalypse to serve him in his final push for dominance. War was a Greek gladiator. Famine, a Confederate drummer who unleashes a living sound that feeds upon those who hear it. Pestilence, a Japanese geisha who unleashed a plague of beetles to strike down those more beautiful than her. And finally, Death, a Persian prince who could transmit fatal diseases based on the metals he touched. We then return to the present and see young Apocalypse still hasn't come into his own, as he doesn't want the X-Men killed, though that doesn't stop Ozymandias from ordering their deaths. Wolverine recovers enough to fight off Death, while Betsy and Phantom X try to fight back but are beaten down by War. Death suckers Wolverine in and lets himself be stabbed so that he can use Logan's own adamantium to transmit every fatal disease known into the mutant hero. Phantom X uses his mental illusions to turn into Pestilence's dead father, long enough to beat her down and follow after War, who left with Psylocke. Meanwhile, Deadpool and Archangel find themselves outside the blue area's atmosphere, but an almost completely incoherent Deadpool sets up a tent and tries to heal Archangel with pop rocks and cola. Death gloats over the dying Wolverine, only to find Pestilence on the end of his diseases, thanks to the old switcheroo by Phantom X's illusions. Phantom X and Wolverine make their way into Apocalypse's base as Betsy wakes up in War's bedchambers. Seems like the old bull can't get past the Phantom X whammy that made him love Psylocke. Betsy uses that to get him to lower his mental defenses and takes him down. As the ship begins to teleport away, stranding the other members of X-Force, Psylocke confronts Apocalypse. Wolverine gets Phantom X to use the whammy to stop the living ship from teleporting, as Deadpool decides the best way to revive Warren is with a red meat diet. Oh, puke! That's almost as disgusting as having to eat Dominoes. Wolvie and Mex tear through Apocalypse's guards, that he apparently got wholesale off of Stargate, before the Horsemen return. But the Horsemen find themselves abandoned on a strange planet by Eva, thanks once again to Phantom X's whammy. The four men reunite outside of Apocalypse's quarters as Warren begins to hear Archangel ordering him to serve his master and kill their teammates. They open the door and find Psylocke, sword drawn and ready to defend Apocalypse. Killing a child is something she will not allow, but Warren sees this as a defense the cult planned, knowing the X-Men would not murder a mutant child. Betsy and Archangel fight as the other members consider the choice they are faced with. Warren questions whether Betsy would truly kill him to save Apocalypse when Wolverine makes the decision to spare the boy. Archangel rushes past them to kill the child, who is terrified of X-Force and promising not to kill anyone. Warren knows better, but even he can't bring himself to murder the child. Wolverine states that they'll train the child in an effort to avert his destiny when a gunshot rings out. The team looks on in stunned silence. Apocalypse is dead, shot between the eyes by Phantom X. Mission accomplished. X-Force returns to Eva and heads home in silence. Okay, let's start right in on the writing. I have to say, even though there were a few silly moments in the first issue, I did really like this book. Now, as I said, conceptually I had problems with the last version of X-Force, so Wolverine keeping this version of X-Force secret from everyone, even Cyclops, really strikes the right chord with me. Remainder also ignores Psylocke and Archangel's previous relationships, which happened under Chris Claremont and Chuck Austen. Remainder smartly ignores that these two broke up before one of Psylocke's many deaths, and that Archangel dated the barely legal Paige Guthrie. And rather than let a long, drawn-out let's-get-back-together scenario play out, he just puts them together and we go from there. Also, he makes Deadpool insane, which is how I prefer the character to act. Not a split personality, not just a depressed freak looking for acceptance. He's crazy, but still a useful tool. Still, he's been searching for Apocalypse for a year? Why no mention of this elsewhere? And also, if you're going to be on an undercover team, then won't new uniforms call attention to yourselves? At least during the last incarnation, they wore mostly black uniforms, which makes sense from a stealth perspective. But bluish gray? Meh. And Phantom X. Well, I never really cared for the character during Grant Morrison's run on New X-Men, or even his more recent appearances on Uncanny X-Men, I did enjoy the use of the character here, because Remainder lets us get into his head for the first time. We see his burgeoning attraction to Betsy. Also, his actions at the end were an incredibly striking moment. We've all thought about the question, what could you do if you could go back in time and assassinate Hitler? Would you kill a child based on what he would become? It's even less clear for X-Force as nothing is certain. Is this really Apocalypse? Or was it just a clone that they were grooming to take his place? I like it that the answers are never made clear and we stay in the morally gray area, although Remainder has said that we won't see Apocalypse again in current X-Men continuity. According to Remainder, he's dead. Period. But the ambiguity and the fact that Phantom X did what he did give the book a real shock ending. I also like the new Horsemen. Remender says he and his editor discussed turning more X-Men into Horsemen, which has been Apocalypse's modus operandi for many years, but his editor pointed out, rightfully so, that the problem there is eventually you have to turn them back into heroes. So we finally get Horsemen that are legitimately badass villains. Though final Horsemen that were to be activated when all else had failed and was time for the final push against humanity? Hello? And they get turned on when Apocalypse is a kid in short pants? Seems like they jumped the gun a little bit. Okay, the one negative thing I noticed here was the complete overuse of Phantom X's power. It gets used at least once per issue to solve their problems. Can't stop war? Misdirection. Need to stop the teleporting ship? Misdirection. Need to fool Pestilence? Misdirection. Stop death and save Wolverine? Misdirection. Have to palm a coin and pull it out of your nephew's ear? Misdirection. Now, I'm not quite sure what we call this. It's not a MacGuffin. It's a frequently used out to regularly encounter difficult situations. Do you think you know what this is called? If you do, send your answer along with a self-addressed stamped envelope to What's This Trope? 555 Fake Street, Springfield, USA, 55555. The only thing left to mention is the art. Jerome Opena manages to straddle the necessary fantastic elements of the story with a sense of realism. War looks like he's made of stone. Deadpool looks like he's actually got a cloth mask over his mouth. Betsy is beautiful, but still looks like a real woman, and the colors provided by Dean White complement this style perfectly, adding contrast where needed. I loved the art. It almost looks painted rather than drawn. So I really liked this book. I thought the story made sense in every way it needed to, and it had a shocking ending, which sets a good tone for the issues to follow this. I think that the art was fantastic, and it really grounded the book with a sense of realism that it needed. Now, I almost gave this book a perfect score, but upon rereading the issues for this review, I did find Phantom X's use of his power really stuck out. It was overused, and that annoyed me a little bit. As a result, I give Uncanny X-Force issues 1 through 4, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really think Rick Remainder is on his way to being one of the all-time great X-writers. He could find his name mentioned in the same halls as Chris Claremont, Louise Simonson, and Peter David. And hopefully he won't find it mentioned in the same breath as such bad writers as, Chuck Austen. I'll see you next time here on Comic Book Issues.
We can go when we want to. Night is young and so am I. And we can dress real neat from our hearts to our feet and surprise them with a victory cry. Say, we can act if we want to. If we don't, nobody will. And you can act real rude and totally removed, and I can act like an imbecile. Say, we can dance.
Enjoy the show. It'll be the last if I have anything to say about it. Oh, someone has a shoulder pad fetish!
Thank you.
Okay, I had to get that line now, I'm sorry.
All right.